So hello and welcome to the Engerati studio at European Utility Week 2016. Today I'm joined by Lotta Henriksen, Vice President Human Resources at Vattenfall Distribution, Bala Nagarajan, Investment Director at Statoil Energy Ventures, and Sitka Jacobs, Project Manager of the Initiate program. Thank you all for joining us. And today we're here to discuss a really important topic, I would think, investing in our sector's future. And I ran a quick poll just at the beginning, over the first few hours of the morning, on if the energy sector is struggling to retain top talent. And the results I've had so far are a bit mixed. 61% of the audience think yes, but there's almost 40% there who think that there isn't a problem. So I'm going to go around the table, probably start from you, Bala. How do you feel about this? Does this reflect the situation?
It does in parts. I help out Statoil with the corporate graduate recruitment process. Surely sort of the attraction of a young graduate to join a Google or a Facebook is so much more higher today than joining an energy company. Part of the reason is because of the growth opportunities that you get by joining a startup such as Facebook and Google, and also what you do at Facebook and Google in many ways touches parts of your own life. So they feel more engaged, they feel they own some part of that in many ways, versus with an energy company we seem a bit more distant in my opinion. So yes, there is a problem, but there is a different set of attractions that we as an energy company provide. Energy is an essential part of the world, and we solve an essential need, and there is a growing need. So we do manage to attract some of the most attractive talent, but we could do more in the face of the competition out there in the market. Okay,
let's move on to you, Lotta. In your role as Vice President of Human Resources at Vattenfall, does this poll perhaps reflect, a point that there is a problem, but there are also reasons to be proud of where we are, and perhaps that we are doing already a good job?
I think so. I think we should be proud of our industry and have a little bit more self-confidence in it. I mean, you can have all the Googles and the Facebooks and apps you want if you don't have the electricity to run them. So, I mean, and when it comes to attracting top talent, I think that, sure, we have to kind of fight and struggle for it because it's also scarce resources now in the market. But I'm sure that we need talents in the gross more. So, and if we would just be better maybe to show that you can have a good working life balance, or you can work on really interesting, cool stuff to be able to develop societies more, that would be very attractive. So I think we could show off more.
So there are real benefits, real good stuff that's already happening, real good things to be proud
Definitely.
of. But then there's clearly a problem as well. There are competitors outside the sector that are, for want of a better word, having more attraction, just seem more attractive. Perhaps it's the times. Sitka, you've been working on the Initiate program. There's a lot of buzz over there. Is this about just more than connecting startups to the right partners? How is this perhaps a reflection of this debate on talent?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the talent that is here, they are not the problem. They are dedicated in making this happen, in having an impact in the industry and changing it for the better. I think the problem is more in getting the right talent, the new talent, and as well getting them here. Because if they are at a university, it's great. It's an academic level, the ones that were here as well. But it's the ones that don't get here, and they need to be here to get connected to the industry where they will be working in. This is where it will happen. I think the same goes for the startups. They are here not just to show off their products. They're here to get connected to the industry, to collaborate with them, and to help this industry in the transformation it is in now.
So I've taken the liberty of breaking this down into three chunks, three very sizable and easily consumable chunks. The process of attracting, nurturing, and retaining the right talent, forming new partnerships and investing in the future, but I believe that's something that you're very passionate about. And then finally, the big picture here. What's in it for the sector as well? Beyond just filling the tables and the roles. So let's start from the very beginning. You mentioned some interesting pain points there with recruitment and even the right working environments. Could you elaborate a bit more, or expatiate a bit more on some of those pain points, what you're seeing, maybe that is sector specific in the energy sector in that sense?
I think it differs between different markets. I think we have different kind of cultures, of course, depending on what country also you're working, and that can differ within a company between countries. But we're still kind of a traditional business with a long history to be proud of, and I think that moving on, going with the development of society, we need to also think about the kind of leadership we have, to be interesting, how we develop people to be interesting, as you said, what work environment we have. Should we push young people to work their ass off for no money, or should we actually try to say that we value you, so we will give you good pay and you should be able to have energy left when you come home from work too. So that's the balance we should work on.
Okay, and one of the other industry, and perhaps even in the wider industry perspective, question we've been having is the question of genders in the energy sector. You see a lot of trends like women in energy, for example, and I was wondering, could you shed a light perhaps on some of the initiatives that you're working on at Vattenfall, or perhaps the things that go through your mind as an industry expert, trying to equate that balance? You are a woman, to start off as well.
I am, yes. I think that we can work a lot on grad students and so on, but we need to look earlier in ages. I mean, to make it cool and popular to learn to do the maths, to do technical areas in school, and that's when you are in high school or earlier, and to show off. It's very practical. I mean, that's where you get the interest for. Then the higher studies we need to then have a job in our branch or industry. So I think we could do more there. With Vattenfall, we do have one example in Sweden where we work with like 14-year-olds. It's called Spark, where we actually have different students or classes go together in pairs of 3 or 4, and they come with innovative solutions for energy, and then they can come and show it off at the company of Vattenfall headquarters, and the class or the pupils that win, they also go down to Brussels and show it to the Minister of Energy, Swedish one then, and all of that. So it's really cool, and they're so talented also. So if we get more young people into the energy part, that would be excellent.
So perhaps it's not just about hashtags and sort of well-balanced panel discussions. It's actually a grassroots nurturing effect.
Yeah, definitely. And there you can also make sure that we get a balance of both men and women, boys and girls interested, so we have a better mix. You also work with different social economical backgrounds, so it's should not be a matter of where you're from in the social economic world, what you study then. Everybody should be able to work in energy.
Okay, Bala, I want to bring you into this conversation because you've had a very interesting path in the sector. You were on the startup side initially, and now you're on the venture investment side of things. How does this reflect on, perhaps the internal discussion of retaining talent? Obviously, that startup has lost you, I believe, and now you're in another company.
I think the threshold for starting something on your own is very low today. So if you're a talented engineer coming out of one of the top schools, why would you want to work for a company if you can work for yourselves? So one of the things corporates like ourselves are doing is to go out and attract the talent, not necessarily as an employee-employer relationship, but by sponsoring them, by helping them achieve their dreams, their goals. So we start all through our venture program, through our innovation lab, through our accelerator programs, go out in search of that talent, and the old mentality of necessarily having them as an employee is slightly changing towards getting access to that talent even if they're not an employee, that's fine. Let's start to use their assets, use their knowledge through these other means. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm in my current role, because that gives me access to that bright talent, and I quite enjoy having that access.
Is that perhaps a paradox in the sector, that the kind of people you're looking for are probably by nature entrepreneurial, you know, the brightest of the bunch, so to speak, engineers, and not that I'm saying that everybody else isn't. Perhaps the sector needs to really think about its value propositions in attracting and nurturing some of these minds?
Absolutely. I think as we discussed before, it's a talent war is the biggest war out there in the market, and we need to position ourselves by being more nimble, by providing sort of some of the social benefits in terms of work-life balance, in terms of ability to grow and develop as a person, not just as an employee, but also being sort of innovative about how young people's version of a career development has changed so much in the last 5-10 years. So you're not in the same job for 20 years as, for instance, my father used to be. So we need to acknowledge that and be more nimble and willing to encourage them to seek other opportunities.
I can relate to that. I guess we all can at some point. We've all had to go through a recruitment process. In fact, I studied engineering, and it's quite interesting coming from Nigeria, which has questionable circumstances in the energy sector. At no point was electricity one of the options for me that came to my mind. Perhaps it's come full circle and I'm here now. I want to flip that question to you, Sitska. What's the mood like in the Initiate programs? What's it been like? Is there much hope from the startups? Do they feel like, you know, the bigger companies here get them and they have a chance?
Yes, more and more. Well, I think you can see it around you as well on the exhibition floor. If you would look at the exhibition a couple of years ago, there would have been no utility on the exhibition floor. They would be here, but they would be attending the conference sessions. If you now look around, you see almost all the big ones are here. You see that they're in transformation themselves. You see that they are opening up for startups, for new partnerships. They offer them the possibility to grow, to learn, well, to fail as well within the company, and then learn from them, because I think as well for the industry, it is quite difficult if you're such a big company in a heavy regulated environment to keep that agility that a startup can offer. So I think it's a good way of that we're finally seeing change. Like if you look at the utilities a couple of years ago, everybody was calling them dinosaurs. No, it's true, right? But you can see now that this is changing. Something is happening. Yeah.
Okay. One of the themes that seems to resonate between Bala and Lotta is the need to listen, need to understand, hear, and perhaps even resonate with the potential pool of candidates you're trying to attract. I noticed in the Initiate program, it wasn't just about utilities coming in or big companies coming in and saying, we want this, we need this from you. There were, you know, startups saying, here's what we're doing, you know, here's what we need. And you flip that conversation, it seems like the utilities were listening. Was that intentional, or was that just a byproduct of the process?
No, this is intentional, and it's as well that you're saying listening, but I think it's as well asking questions as an industry ourselves. Like, why are we doing this? What is our purpose? And I think especially the next generation of talent and technologies, it is a different mindset, and they are asking these questions. They don't just want to make money, they want to contribute. And that is, I think, as well where Initiate comes in. It empowers them and it gives them a platform. Because over here it's the big companies, they've got the money, they can be here, they can invest in it, but these people and companies still need that investment, but they need the encouragement as well. So that is where I feel Initiate plays a big role.
Okay, one more question on this, on the recruitment and retaining talent side of things. You know, Bala mentioned Google and Facebook repeatedly in his open sentences, and it's one of those inevitabilities of the time that we're in. These are the companies that people look at. How can the sector really compete with companies like this? Is that perhaps maybe an unfair comparison? Lotta, let me come to you, because you said actually there are reasons to be proud of. Actually, what do you think?
I think that companies has always competed for talent. It's just a matter of what company is the coolest one at the moment. I'm not sure how long Google's going to be there. We're an industry. We're not talking about one company competing with them. It's a full industry, and I'm sure that's more industries. We recruit a lot. As a company, even though they're big, they can't recruit that much. So even if people would like to go there, they will not be able to. And will then they have to be happy with a job in our industry? Yeah, but when they start, they might never want to leave. Maybe the company, but not the industry. So we need to also be sure so that we see it as a benefit that you can move around between our companies in the industry to actually develop. And then if you have been a good employer, people will come back. So that's...
It's very interesting that you take that perspective here. You know, flip the conversation and say that, you know, we've got some home advantages already, so perhaps we need to leverage those a bit more. Is that what you're saying to me then? Okay. Well, Bala, let's see your view as well. So you've obviously launched a startup. You have a feeling for the tech sector. Why did you choose energy over, say, you know, I don't know, IBM or Google or something like that?
I think one of the things that I was looking for is an industry which touches your life day in, day out. An industry where there is growth, an industry where there is growth both from a top line perspective but also from a geographic reach perspective. If you look at it, you know, there are statistics out there saying it's 2 billion people more coming up in the next 20 years who will need electricity, who will need energy. So this is an industry where an energy poverty is sort of in the Maslow's needs theory. This is the fundamental sort of foundation of what a person needs. So I think this industry touches one of the basic needs of humanity. It has growth potential. It has plenty of both technological and financial problems to solve. What people need is secure energy, cheap energy, sustainable energy. So there are plenty of problems that still need to be solved where some of the brightest minds can solve, and that was one of the attractions as to why I came into this industry from banking.
So it's also opportunities as well, because I can relate to that coming from Nigeria. I can imagine, you know, you think there are plenty of problems, so perhaps there are plenty of opportunities. But then you look at Western Europe, for example, and there's a lot of electricity already, perhaps efficiency problems and innovation problems. Did you still look at this world and think there are still opportunities here as well?
Absolutely. I think nobody is going to say no to lower electricity rates at home. So there is plenty that we can do from an efficiency perspective, from an innovation perspective, that can add value both to the company and to the end consumer. So I don't think we've run out of problems to solve. There are plenty for us to do.
Look, we've come to the halfway point, so I want to move us on to the subject of partnerships and investing in the future. And I think it's probably fair that I start again with you, Bala, in this case. You know, how are you addressing these issues externally, perhaps, looking out for new talent and new partners?
It's probably cliche when I say this, but a Tesla didn't come out of a Ford. An Apple didn't come out of a Microsoft, even though these big companies had the means to come up with something new. I think we as an industry need to acknowledge that there are better startups, better companies, better individuals out there who can create a meaningful difference to our industry. And what we're trying to do is to embrace that and be part of that disruption than be disrupted. So having an open eye outside of our own sort of four walls, seeing what could potentially help us as much as we can help them is our approach to embracing the change outside.
Okay, Lotta, I want to come to you because I hear what Bala is saying, but then I see Eneco, and Toon came out of Eneco, and there's also I believe it's Ayanda's team, and they've got a data analytics institute which they work with the likes of Deloitte. So is there perhaps an internal role that an energy company can also play in investing in its own future, nurturing, getting the right, you know, building these new innovations and entrepreneurs?
I think you could, and it also you benefit if you have a business where you're quite a broader business model, or like Vattenfall has in the whole value chain, more or less. Then you can of course develop yourself in the company, but you can also work on different perspectives, like R&D in one place or the operations in another. but also you need to partner up also with externals, depending on how. It's a tough market. The electricity prices are hitting us hard, so we need to be very, very efficient and lean. So that's also when you start partnering with others, smaller or often bigger, of course, companies, but both, depending on your own size.
And is there also an opportunity there to partner from a HR perspective, you know, where maybe it might be from investing in university programs or grassroots education programs? Actually, you touched on a bit of the grassroots programs.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about that?
But it is, definitely. I mean, you do the simple or the easy stuff. You partner up with universities or schools to get the top talents, but also with the grassroots, the younger students. One other thing I think is to, I think we need to be better or do more of actually recruiting for attitude. I told this before, and then train for talent, because we have an aging workforce in the industry, and it's just not just the older top talents who are leaving, the experts, the branch expert. It's actually all our really good field people, the technicians, the ones doing a really hard and good job every day on the power plants or wherever. These are the ones we also need, and if we cannot get them from schools, we need to hire attitude and then train them ourselves.
One of the interesting themes in this space is the rise of partnership and innovation hubs. You know, we've seen companies like KK Energy, well, they're now called Energy. I think Accenture also has its innovation hub, or is
everyone will have it. Everyone will have it here. You will see all the big corporates. They have their own. Whether it's an innovation lab, it's a launch pad. They are all doing that because if they stick to their current business model, you know, everyone needs to innovate. Innovation is a natural thing, right? So the world around us is changing, but it depends as well on the speed that you're doing it. Because if you just focus on the day-to-day business and what happened yesterday and how you will do it tomorrow, then you're too late.
And what are some of the ways that, say, the Initiative program or events like these actually contribute to fostering those partnerships? Is it just about giving them a stage? You know, is there a deeper level here?
Well, I think it's as well showing that if you partner, you can make it happen. Yeah, like you don't have to do it alone. We are here. The industry is here. They want to talk to you, and vice versa. I think the way Initiate works is as well with partners. We do the same thing. We collaborate with the accelerators, whether it's on a country level, on a company level, it's the universities. You need to work together.
Okay. Let me come back to you, Bala, and give you the tough question of admitting to what it's like having to pick a startup or pick which companies you want to invest in. Because I imagine if you walk up to someone with a bag of cash, literally, it's unlikely they're going to go, actually, no, I'm not interested. So, you know, what are the kind of companies that you look for? And this is on a personal level. What sparks that attention and attraction for you when you look at startups?
I think the myth of a startup is that it's very exciting, there's a lot of growth, but the reality is also that there is a lot of hard times, there is a lot of struggle. So I think what we look for in an entrepreneur is someone who is tenacious, who doesn't give up soon, his passion and his interest in the company are aligned. They're doing it for a reason which is beyond just making money. So we're looking for that spark in someone which is close to their heart, rather than being driven by external factors.
Is it almost perhaps you see yourselves in them, or?
Yeah, I've seen better entrepreneurs than myself, and I've seen why I failed. So there are it's a great reflection because I was on the other side. It helps me identify and empathize with them. By default, the success rates with startups is skewed against them. You will fail. That's the starting point, and yet these companies, these individuals start on that path, and it's, as an investor, it's very easy to pinpoint and say why things are going wrong, why you will fail, but that's not our role. We see our role as being supportive when things are not going well, and helping them achieve their goals. At the same time, we should also know when to pull the plug when things are not going well. So it's a delicate balance to play.
It's interesting you smile about that, but it's a tough decision to face, right?
It is, and this is Darwinism at work. If you might have the best idea in the world, but if there is no customer for your idea, maybe this is the right time. You need to refocus your efforts somewhere else. And as an entrepreneur, it's so much harder for you to take that decision, whereas as an investor, we have a more objective view of things, and it's easier for us to communicate that message to an entrepreneur.
Lotta, and I know the investment side of things isn't necessarily the core of your focus, but I was wondering if you could perhaps relate to some of the themes here, even from a recruitment perspective. What is the DNA of the new kind of recruits talent that you look for? Do they perhaps reflect a mindset that's willing to deal with the disruption that's going on in this sector?
Definitely, but that's also a lot about attitude, how you're, what you can pitch in. You will have your skills, of course, working with in the energy industry, of course, depending on what you want to work with and hired for, you need the skills for it. But then it's also about, as you say, disruptive, being able to have continuous improvement thinking, want to develop the business, want to develop yourself, to pitch in, to do maybe go an extra mile outside of your your area of responsibility, and that's a mindset I think that you look for. And of course it's different, the people we're looking for now than maybe 20 years ago. It was more traditional. Now it's everything is developing very fast, more digital, more IT, security thinking and so on. So that has changed.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of the session, and I want to touch on the big picture here and what's actually in it from the sector looking, outside. Let me come back to you, Bala, and why is this process particularly important to you? You've touched already on the need to find the innovators who can think outside of the box. Are there any other wider benefits to, rethinking the investment process?
One of the benefits of actually looking for these innovative companies outside is as much for the benefit of our own employees. The interactions that we help between our employees and these startups, it sort of changes our mentality on how we should go about thinking on our own business. So many of our employees would like to be involved in that process of helping these startups, and this creates a benefit from a morale perspective and from an engagement perspective. So this is an added benefit of us engaging externally.
Lotta, let me come to you, because at the beginning we talked about the gender gap and gender equality. What are some of those wider objectives, some of those wider benefits of rethinking perhaps the HR, human resources and resourcing process?
The benefits of diversity? Wow. How long time do we have?
Wow. Well, if you could keep it to less than 2 minutes, that'd be great.
Right. No, but it's absolute must. We will not be attractive if we are to everybody's thinking alike. The younger generation don't want to work in that kind of company. You want to be having interactions with different cultures also, and then we need also, I think, from a customer's perspective, be able to mirror the societies we are in. And from a gender perspective, I mean, well, don't get me started. We're working a lot on that.
I would. Please tell me some more.
Yeah, but it's different in the different countries. In Sweden, we come a little bit further in our company when it comes to how many female or male managers there are and so on. When it comes to engineers, we're still struggling because there's less females studying it. But then we also have to be an attractive employer for everybody so that we can get the most talented people in. But then it's also different social norms in our different markets. It's one way in Germany and another one in Netherlands or Sweden. So this also affects the possibility of actually working. How many female or male employees are actually not working full time because they need to take care of family? How flexible are we? Can you actually do a job at home, or do you need to be at the offices 8 until 5? that also limits the possibilities, for example, for women that have families. So as a company, we can do a lot working on this to show that we are equal company.
Sitzka, you have the top job of following those two very insightful ending notes. Is there perhaps, you know, and with programs like Initiate, a chance here to be part of a bigger benefit, a CSR, global perspective, maybe even a chance for the energy sector to lead?
Yeah, definitely. An interesting thing was that when we pulled the data and checked the participants of the Young Talent Program, how many males, how many females, I was actually quite surprised, positively surprised, because 35% was female, most of them engineers. So that is not really reflecting the industry. I think if you pull the Eurostats, then you will see it's around 12%. So yeah, but I agree with what Lotta said at the beginning. This goes back to high school and primary school. This is not something that we as an industry right now can change. That is a bit more, yeah, it goes deeper than that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one final question. It's coming to the end of the year. 2016 has been a very interesting years for the right and some may say the wrong reasons. But we have seen the rise of Tesla, you know, the growing interest in green technology, you know, the electricity sector perhaps even becoming very sexy again. What are the things that you're most looking forward to in terms of perhaps the talent, recruitment perspective in 2017? Let me start from the other end of the panel. Bala, give us your thoughts.
I think the convergence of energy, telecommunications is something that attracts me a lot, because there is all of these are services that a customer gets. And if you look at how we get paid for energy, it's very different to how you would pay your mobile phone bill or your broadband bill, for instance. So I think energy sector is moving towards a services model from the rate-based model to some extent, and that sort of change in business model will bring up a lot more innovation and fundamental change to how we interact with our customers.
Lotta, are there perhaps, you know, initiatives perhaps internally or on an industry and sector-wide perspective that you're looking forward to in 2017?
Well, as a quite general energy company, it's we're struggling with finances and electricity prices and all of that, and that is affecting my area of business for HR. As I said, we are scrutinizing every recruitment we do. We cannot, unfortunately, take in just for the sake of developing people or letting people have a chance. So it's really, I would hope that 2017 would be a year where we could relax a little more, to just focus more on development instead of just trying to really find the right person for any specific kind of job. But I mean, it's a really interesting year coming in.
Okay, yeah. Sitzka, the Initiate program has been one of the standout features of European Utility Week. In fact, right now there's still a buzz over there. People are networking, talking, learning, perhaps even doing business. What will 2017 hold?
It will be the same concept. It's the same message. We will have more talents, hopefully as well, more international talents, and I think as well, because we are not talking on a European level, but as Bala was saying as well, there is the need for more connectivity. If we look at other continents, they have completely different problems, but as well different solutions and different possibilities to get to that, and that is where Initiate, where I will see Initiate next year playing a role.
Could we perhaps see Initiate in other countries as well?
Yes.
Or continents rather?
Yes. So Africa, Asia, going to Australia as well. So yes.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of expansion. Ladies and gents, I think that's a brilliant place for us to bring this session to a close. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you. Yeah.
And thank you as well for tuning into this session. If you'd like to hear more about startups investing into the energy sector, please check out the other sessions on the screen, and also check out the Initiate program. It might be coming to a place near you. Thank you.